Good day, my friend. One of the things I've always found important is to sometimes go back and review some of the rudimentary concepts that we have to know, especially if you're new in this and to this. And many of you brave stalwarts have found a wonderful, interesting term, confederacy, in our support and following and admiration of Candace Owens. And many have, and this is the most interesting because you've never, not everybody, but some of you have not necessarily been political animals. You've never really subscribed to the notion of conservative or liberal and these ridiculous labels that mean nothing, because this left-right paradigm is an illusion. It's two sides of the same coin. There's no such thing as left or right. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But you'll find yourself thinking that, oh, I'm an American or something, whatever, wherever you are, and I've shown this support of Candace, and she makes a lot of sense, and I like what she has to say, and then invariably somebody will come up to you and say she's a conspiracy theorist, or they will subscribe, they will connect you to strong feelings against or regarding Middle Eastern policy. And you're thinking, wait a minute, I didn't say anything about that. No. You must assume all of her debts, all of her transgressions, whatever she has said. Oh, so you're a transphobe? Wait a minute, what? This is what they do. Don't let it bother you. That means you're over the target. Remember this. A couple of rules here. We always say this, and it's important. And forgive me if you've heard this before, but some people haven't. You only take flack when you're over the target. If you're in a bombing run and you're trying to bomb the enemy, and you're trying to say, I wonder where the enemy is. Are we in the right place? As soon as you start seeing flak, anti-aircraft artillery, you're over the target. They'll let you know. Okay? And they only tell you you're crazy when you deal with a subject that has meaning. If you went on and you said, Elvis is alive, Elvis is here, Elvis, they'd say, oh. It bothers me that we haven't received enough information regarding, or enough blowback from people who have suggested that there's something to be said for UFOs and the like. So I thought for sure people would say, whoa, these people are really making progress. We have to shut them down. They haven't done that yet. So that means either they don't think it's that interesting or it's premature. But that will happen too. For those ufologists out there, pretty soon you'll be thrown into that mess. But now you're considered quirky and not a threat. Okay? The moment you start hitting pay dirt, the moment you start getting near, that's when things happen. That's what happens. Anyway. So, Chapter 1, Conspiracy Theories. I feel it's important to say this, and I feel it's necessary, and I'm going to do it. And if you've heard this before, please listen anyway, because you might hear something you never heard before. I love words. I'm a logophile, a logodedalus. I like new words, but I like also going back and reading definitions of a word that I thought I knew, especially gradations of words. Like if I told you the difference between dislike, hate, abhor, detest, revile, it's like, wow. Little fine tunings, basically the same idea, but one different than the other. Some more serious, some more, inconsequential. That's what this is. So never feel like you should always go back and relearn something that you thought you knew, because you'll always find out something new. So let's talk about the word conspiracy theorist. First, you must understand, and you must also ask, well, what's the basis from an epistemological point of view? What do I know about this? How do you know what we know? One of my favorite things. How do you know? You say you know things. They say if you go swimming too soon after you eat, you'll get cramps and sink to the water and die. You can't go swimming too soon after you've eaten. How do you know that? I don't know. Who said that? I don't know. Well, why do you say that? I don't know. That's That's what knowledge is. A lot of times we just say things. We don't really know why we say, and it goes on all the time. And people in the media who are the worst, the sock puppets, they know nothing. So, conspiracy theory. What does that mean? You'll hear it all the time. You'll hear somebody say, I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist. I know this sounds like a conspiracy. I know this is a conspiracy, and they call it a conspiracy or conspiracy theorist. Wrong, 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 wrong. It's the wrong term. What they mean to say is, I know this sounds crazy. I know I have a theory about some alternative version of something. I know I'm providing to you a kind of a theory about something that may or may not be based in fact. I know of something that you might think is either superstition or crazy. That's what people are saying. That's what people are saying. People are saying, you're saying something that's crazy, that's baseless, that doesn't have any foundation, that's a wives' tale, that's mythical, that's mythology. You got it? Good. That's what they mean. First, a conspiracy. The word is interesting. It means to do something with somebody else. The word conspiracy, from the Latin or versions of it, is conspirare, to breathe with. Respiration, suspiration. By the way, suspiration is these people who do that out there, these sighers, they drive me crazy. That's suspiration. Respiration, But a conspiracy means to breathe with, meaning an organization. An agreement, a confederation, a kind of a plan between two or more guilty people, meaning people who are planning to do something, not some cop thrown in there pretending to be a conspirator, but because the old days, some jurisdictions say you can't be charged with conspiracy if you're conspiring with a cop because they're not going to do it. You need two guilty people. Anyway, two or more guilty people conspiring. That's all it means. Working together, planning something. If Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone, if Tyler Robinson acted alone, that's one thing. He's the sole agent. If he worked with, if he planned, if somebody aided, abetted, counseled, procured, hired, encouraged, now we get into this kind of this accomplice thing. And then sometimes when the accomplice gets a little bit more involved, you have a conspiracy where I'm planning. I call you up. Hey, listen, I can get a load of whatever this drug is, or listen, we can do something. Listen, let's do this. And the moment I hang up or finish the offer, the conspiracy has been committed, because in federal court in particular, you're charged with the crime and the conspiracy, which is kind of redundant. You're charged with killing somebody and planning to kill somebody with somebody else. It's the planning. That's a separate and distinct thing. That's the conspiracy. Conspiracy to commit. Conspiracy. So when you say, is this a conspiracy theory? That to me means, is this a theory or a hypothesis or some kind of argument that says that more than one person was involved in this? That's not what people mean. You don't care about how many people were involved in something. Conspiracy means more than one people. So now that I've belabored that point to the point of exhaustion, the word is wrong. So remember this, when somebody says, are you a conspiracy theorist? No, I haven't mentioned anything about the number of people involved in this. And people will look at you like, what the hell is he talking about? Or they might say, this guy...
Sorry,
oops.
I'm having trouble hearing you.
I know I'm having a hard time hearing.
That?
No, I'm not. This damn thing. I'm not talking to you. We live in a world of eavesdropping. Everywhere I'm being followed. Remember, just because I'm crazy... You know what? I've had enough of you. Just because I'm crazy...
Should I call him then?
No, nobody. What's the matter with this thing? All of a sudden, out of nowhere. Just remember, just because I'm paranoid doesn't mean no one's after me. Okay. Now that I've wasted your time, here's when it really hit the fan. After the JFK Commission, there was the Warren Commission, which was absolute nonsense. It was a chance to whitewash the entire event. I've never had this happen. All of a sudden, this thing is... No, I don't want you to do anything. I don't want you to do anything. I don't want you to... Hang on a minute. What is the matter with this thing? This is the strangest thing. I hate this. I have never... ChatGPT is great, but there we go. I'm going to just cut you off. Remember, with AI, You can't turn it off. Remember that. We'll talk about that later. This is back to Candace, because people are talking. She's a conspiracy theorist. Let me go back where I left off before this machine interrupted. After the Warren Commission, Earl Warren, who was on the Supreme Court, former governor of California, I don't think he ever was a judge. I don't know what he did. Eisenhower picked him, said it was the worst damn mistake he ever made in his life. The Warren Commission, the Warren Court, very, very liberal, so they say. But anyway, he was the titular head of the Warren Commission to find out, gee, was there any nefarious goings-on in the JFK assassination? Yeah. But it was a whitewash. Just like the 9/11 Commission, or anytime you hear the word commission, that means quickly put this thing together, write up something. I got a lot of papers, the Epstein files. Give them a lot of papers and say, there you go, you're happy here, read through this. Well, they didn't have ChatGPT in the old days, or AI. They can't go through 1 million pages like that. Now we can. And put them into subdirectories and references. It's a different world now. So after the Warren Commission came out, it was worse. People said, this is terrible. This is a joke. Because nobody believed any of this stuff, even in 1963. Remember the Zapruder film, that famous film you've seen, where JFK's head is basically vaporized? That was actually for the first time seen by the public in like 75 on the Geraldo Rivera show, Good Night America or something. 1975 or something. I was in high school and I thought, oh my God, first time we ever saw that. First time, and his head went back like that, and we were off to the races. So, back to this. There was this series of, this problem they had with this ridiculous Warren Commission. So remember this. I'm going to put a little reference in here. There's a very famous document called CIA Dispatch 1035-960. It was released by the CIA on April the 1st, 1967. The memo was circulated by CIA field stations around the world after growing public skepticism about the findings of the Warren Commission, which concluded that Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone and therefore, what class? Not a conspiracy, because if you're by yourself, there's no conspiracy because you're not breathing with anybody, you're not working with anybody. Anyway, in the of, because you can't say these words, I gotta do this. I'm a grown man going, the dispatch, the liquidation, the removal, the expurgation, if you will, of John Kennedy. So what the memo said was the dispatch, which was later, by the way, I think it was FOIA. It was released under the Freedom of Information Act in the 70s. And because they said at first, what are you talking about? What memo? Well, people said, we have a memo. We have this. So before they could authenticate it, the government had to admit, yes, it was indeed real. So what it did was the dispatch, it was just a memo, instructed CIA stations to counter critics of the Warren Commission who were questioning the official narrative. And it suggested ways to respond to critics in the media. Listen to this. This is where it all started. Now, the word conspiracy has been around forever. Conspiracy theories were back in the days of Garfield assassination. Of course, there's always been obviously references to, conspiracies, but not the way the word is used now. This is when it was born. Among the strategies recommended, first one was point out that critics were politically motivated, okay? So, this, by the way, is, let's take Candace as an example. What Candace is saying about anything, Erica Kirk or Charlie or this or that, or Macron or Middle Eastern policies or the war, that she and her cronies, her Confederates, are all politically motivated. It's all about politics. It's nothing to do with reality. That's what she is. Okay, gee, surprise, surprise. This was big stuff in 1963, not now. Number two, suggest that critics are financially motivated or seeking publicity. Sound familiar? Well, the only reason Candace is doing that is to line her own pockets. The only reason why she's saying this is because she's trying to build that big base. And it's all about this, my friends. Not money, this. It's an old joke. I love it. I'll explain it later. But that's what they're saying, right? It's politically. And all of her friends, all these people who are coming to her aid, they're in the same boat. They're trying to hitch onto her wagon and take off. It's about money. It's about craving, greed, and that's all it is. Next, emphasize the authority. This is of the Warren Commission, but in this case, say, emphasize the authority of the people involved who know a lot more about the Middle East, who know a lot more about what's going on, who know a lot more about the actual prosecution of Tyler Robinson, who know a lot more than she does. They are authorities. Who is she? Who does she think she is? Oh, well, they're big investigation. All right? Next is encourage friendly journalists to challenge, to ridicule critics. This is important. I'm sure you've known this. If you've known this already, please forgive me for being so redundant as to even suggest that I'm telling you this. But there was a very famous CIA operation called Operation Mockingbird. I mean, you might refer or hear the references of the Mockingbird media. And that is, it really started with the Washington Post and Phil Graham, and where the media were working in cahoots, in association with, in a conspiracy with, if you consider it a crime, conspiracy with the government to produce only those matters, those things, those, what am I trying to say? Those messages that are consistent with whatever the CIA wanted. And they put these people in. And they couldn't believe they actually paid people. But remember, they were said, but this is not, don't think of yourself as being some kind of a shill for the media. You're spreading truth. And these people, these un-American people are trying to lie about the Vietnam War. Yeah. See how it works? We call it Mockingbird media. And what they also said, this is another thing to it. They also said, and this is very important, when you talk about these things, throw in the fact that it would be virtually impossible for somebody to carry off something of this nature. Because do you know how many people would have to know this? Here's what you've heard before. 9/11. Are you suggesting that there was something other than the official findings of the official 9/11 Commission? Are you suggesting that somehow there was some nefarious group of what insiders, intel, some PNAC, neocon, ruthless, globalist jackal who came in? Do you know how many people would have to be involved in this? Do you know how many people would have to be involved in pulling off some fraud to wire buildings? You're talking about a controlled demolition? Do you know how many people it would take, how long it would take, the amount of information? And people talk. People never can keep their mouth shut. You don't understand. You're crazy. They always talk about how complicated. Do you know how many people would have to know about the JFK assassination? Do you know how many people do you know this Brigitte Macron? Do you understand that if she indeed is a feller, how many people would have to be in on it? Do you know how many people were involved in the Manhattan Project? This is in the first, the building of the bomb, like 100,000. But nobody knew what they were doing because it was all compartmentalized. You could be assigned or enlisted by the government to work something, but you don't know what you're doing. You don't know what you're doing. It's compartmentalized. You don't know this is a bond. You might work for a trigger housing. You're wondering, what am I doing? What tests are these? Do you know that when they came out with the iPhone at first, Apple had more security. Not Google. Google's always open and they have lunch together. Apple's like very serious. They used to check people when they left to make sure you didn't steal or have the new phone with you. The people who worked in the glass division never talked to the people in the box division, never talked to the people in the numbers division or the operational system, so that they really didn't know what this thing was going to look like. They kind of did, but didn't, until it was revealed. That's compartmentalization. The Turing, remember Alan Turing, the Turing test, Bletchley Park, Enigma. Eisenhower came in. Dwight Eisenhower, hey, Uncle Joe, came in and told these fellows, a lot of them, these were civilians who were enlisted and contracted to work on these code breaking. People like puzzles and moms and teachers and just regular civilians. And he said, I just want you to know one thing. If I find out that any of you are building this, I personally will, right here, I will do it. I will eliminate you. You got that? Have a nice day. This was serious business. Not one word ever leaked. In fact, there were people who, much like Hiro Aruna, whatever, the Japanese fellow who didn't know the war was over, there were people who never talked about Enigma ever. People keep quiet. People keep secrets. People really do this. This is something that people don't understand. They don't want you to think otherwise. I don't know if I've just gone blank or if this is the weirdest thing here. This is so strange. Can you see me? I don't know. Well, I'm going to keep talking because I'm doing such a grand, there we go. That was odd. All right. So, back to what I was saying. You're going to be hearing the word conspiracy theory. And I want you to understand where it came from. I think 1963. 1967, we knew officially this was a mindset. Intel agencies do not have a place. It's not CIA. It's not Langley. It's not FBI. It's not MI6. It's not Mossad. It's not ISI. It's not, Scotland Yard. It's this huge, as we say in Hell's Kitchen, this database, this group of people. You have linguists, some of them cunning. You have people who work on the dissemination of an idea, of a meme. The whole notions of the doc is the meme is from the word memetics, how you set an idea out. Trends, behaviorists. How do we get to see how people think? It's a collective way of thinking. And what they are doing is they're throwing, for example, back to Candace, they're throwing everything at her. And it's not working. And you know why it's not working? Thank God many of you might be one, but many of her followers are bulletproof because they're not a part of the usual political discussion. So they don't know what conspiracy theory means. They don't care about it. They don't know anything about Mockingbird Media. They're just saying, no, I like what she's saying about this because you respect her courage, her ability to research, her indefatigable, her lovely and creative intransigence. She will not budge. She will not budge. She gets on you and it's like the dog that's nipping at your legs. Like, get away. She doesn't get away. And they bring it on. She was doing an interview recently where she says, I wasn't going to go deep into this Macron thing until they sued me, until they told me. And they said, wait a minute, hold it. Now the fight's on. So this is very critical. And in your investigative realm, there's going to be something else. It might be something about the war. It might be something about Trump or the New World Order, or whatever it is, or the Vatican, anything. Anytime there's a group of people, you will say something that does not fit the narrative, and they will say, ding, ding, it's a conspiracy theory. And when you do this, remember I'm saying, it's funny you say that. You'd be surprised I found out how many people use that term incorrectly. And immediately, because our job is never to abuse people, it's to teach them. My job is never to tell people they're full of it, it's to correct them, to lend assistance, to elucidate, to provide them with, here's something most people don't know, which translation means you dumbass, you don't know what you're talking about. I have no problem. This is an intellectual war. This is an informational war. This is like info wars. By the way, once we're on the subject, let me explain something to you, which is critical. Do not think that the people today that you were told are crazy for everything. We'll talk about coming on in the future, another perhaps a dispatch. People will say Candace is crazy. She's crazy. She's crazy. It's an old Soviet trick. You're crazy. She's crazy. She's out of her mind. She's crazy. She's jealous. She's crazy. She's anti-Semitic. She's a racist. I know. Whatever they have this. It's like they have things they throw at you, and they don't know where to go. They're throwing plates, and I'm throwing this thing, and I'm throwing here's a cup. Racism, that doesn't work. Homophobe, that doesn't work. Anti-Semite, that doesn't work. She's paid. She's a shill. She's ignorant. She's stupid. And I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to leave you with this. And when I tell people this, they still don't understand it. If you paid me all the money in the world, I said, I want this issue to go away. You know what you do? You ignore it. You say, and you do what I have been doing my whole life. Whenever you have a job or a boss or somebody who comes along and suggests something really stupid to you, and you think, what in the hell is the matter with this person? But I've got to respond. I've got to look like I'm listening. I've got to look like I'm at least paying attention. You look at the person and you say, interesting. And that's it. You didn't commit to it. There's no approbation. There's no approval. There's no nothing. There's just you say, oh, interesting. Or if you want to be creative, there you go. There you go. One friend of mine always says, fascinating. And I said, don't do that. But that's what you do. Hey, did you hear about this Candace Owens? What she's surprised. She believes that Erica Kirk is a phony, and that Charlie may have been done in by members of his own organization. Interesting. That's it. She'd go away. And by the way, last word of the subject. I'm lying to you. I'm always saying last word, and there is no last word. And you'll find that out about me. There's never a last word. But this is the last word. They are realizing that Erica has to go. And I'll leave it at that. Not in the organized crime sense, but she has drawn more fire. She has caused more inquiry and involvement than anything anybody could have ever done. She has to leave. She has to step down, but she can't because she's so driven by the glow of the clique, the excitement, the adulation. She's a very, very insecure little girl who wants to make her name, and for the first time in her life, she absolutely enjoys center stage. Not as a wife, not as some Miss participant in some pageant, not as Lori's daughter, but as Erica Kirk. And she is not going to let go of this. And that is her weakness. All right, my friends, thank you so very much. Thank you for watching. Thank you immensely. Thank you. And also, very interestingly enough, you know the routine, I have to say this. Please like this video. Just liking this video does more than you can ever imagine. That's number one. Number two, please subscribe to our humble network, our channel, which we appreciate. Hit the little bell to be notified of live streams and new videos. And also, my thank you. You've been very, very kind to me. I think, thanks to the suggestions and the behest of Candace. But my beloved wife has a YouTube. You've heard me talk about it. I'm so proud of her. Lynn's Warriors. And she is totally focused on one solitary, salutary focus, and that's prevention of human trafficking in children, child predation, and digital safety. That's it. What's going on right now in Congress, what's going on in lawsuits, for the first time is going to treat the notion of the seemingly innocuous world of, the internet. No. This is a deliberate, baited field put up by big tech, Silicon Valley and others, to draw our children in, to lure them in, to lock them in, and to completely destroy their minds, to forever and permanently brainwash them. This is called menticide. It's brainwashing. And to provide an open forum for predation, everything from teaching them to harm themselves to trying to encourage and instill a new generation of kids with eating disorders and self-harm fantasies. It's horrible. So please, thank you for following, and I ask you to, if you haven't, Lynn's Warriors on YouTube. And until we meet again, my friends, first of all, to all of you who are here at the behest and the suggestion of Candace, I thank you so much. I am beyond honored, and I say that in the truest sense of the word, not the way most people say it gratuitously. I welcome you and I thank you. And I always advise you and recommend you to think for yourself, question everything, question authority, always ask. How do you know what you know? It's epistemology. It's the notion of I don't want to say ideology. It's more of a pathological thing, but it's the idea of how do you know what you know? That's all. Never be afraid to ask. Have a great day, my friends. Thank you so much, and comment as you see fit.